Hey everybody, it's Andrew with Natural State Horticare here. I just want to take a second to talk about a job that the irrigation team just finished up over here in Argenta Plaza. They had originally had their system installed in I think 2020, and there were some significant issues with it causing the grass to burn up and not be watered evenly. So we just came in here and started diagnosing the system, and one of the things that we noticed was this zone here behind me. So if you'll flip around and show this zone here, this was basically the existing system as it was, although we've made some minor adjustments, nozzle changes, things like that, just to increase coverage. But there was only 2 zones, and this was responsible for the majority of the area before we made the adjustments. And if you come this way, I'll show you a little bit more of what we adjusted. So in this area specifically here, between the sidewalk here and between the seating area over there, there was only water traveling from this side to that side, and the side up there along the seating area was just getting absolutely roasted. So you'll see in a second the secondary zone that actually provides water back from this direction to provide what we call head-to-head coverage. Okay, as I was talking about previously, the initial zone that was the primary water on this property, or on this section of the property, just wasn't quite cutting it, and there was a pretty significant hot spot here where we've put the 360-degree rotary nozzle that just kind of fills in the gaps. And as you can see, I'm getting sprayed. It goes all the way corner to corner, all the way around, and it just kind of starts from the center and just kind of fills in the gaps where those heads that were placed in the corners there were just not quite reaching evenly. That was leading to hot spots during the middle of the summer in August when things are really hot. And if you come over here, I'll show you. So here, again, like I was mentioning before, the only irrigation that this zone had before was along this sidewalk here. And there was nothing up here where the seats were. And so what we've done is we've kind of added this zone in addition to what was already here to not only meet that shortcoming there, but to add water along the seating area and have that water come back in this direction so that we didn't have any issues with hot spots. We've also, and I noticed that I can't show you both zones running simultaneously, but if I could, you would see that these heads are actually staggered. So they're offset from one another, whereas one's here, another one's here, and the other one's here. And so they kind of form like a triangle that completes the head-to-head coverage, which eliminates hot spots. One of the things you guys will notice in this shot, and one of the things we try to accomplish, is the water is evenly distributed along the concrete edge. There's no areas of this edge that don't have some overflow on them. And a lot of people are cautious about water coming onto the concrete as if maybe they're wasting water or not being efficient. Because of directional changes in the wind and things of that nature, and the concrete also has a tendency to heat up and be warmer than the surrounding soil. We always recommend that there's at least approximately a foot of overlap and rotation onto the actual concrete itself. Another thing that we did is, this was an existing zone, but these heads here were misting heads. Misting heads are really, really susceptible to wind, and they can easily be blown back off. So this is a short distance, so the heads don't need to throw all that far. And as you can see, they're spraying well up onto the concrete here, which is no big deal. We're getting complete coverage. The other thing you'll notice is the head spacing. These heads are really, really close together. And these rotary nozzles just kind of spray each other. One head sprays the other one, which again eliminates hot spots. One of the things we did here in this zone, most of these heads were existing before we began our work, but we made some really nuanced changes that are really going to improve coverage and also save a bunch of money. So one of the coverage issues that we did was all these rotary nozzles around the perimeter here. We adjusted the angles because they were not coming onto the concrete, so that was one big thing that we did. Another thing is this zone actually had way too many heads on it. And so by changing nozzles and changing to rotary and things like that to make the system more efficient, we were able to maximize coverage with the allotted pressure that we had from the system itself. And so without spending a bunch of money and adding new zones and pipes and all sorts of digging, we were able to maximize the coverage and efficiency simply by switching nozzles to more efficient setup. One of the things that's unique about this property is it has a significant amount of drip line throughout in all the beds and around all the trees on the property. One of the key things that most people misunderstand about the layout and how to install the drip line is basically that they're going to need a pressure regulator, because the amount of pressure that runs into these and the amount of pressure that runs into a standard irrigation head is completely different. The filter or the regulator for this zone actually also has a filter on it, because of the emitters that this drip line uses are really, really small and can easily become clogged and lead to more issues over time. One of the more common shortcomings that we see when we go to replace beds that have drip line in them is how they're installed. So much like the irrigation zones we've talked about before and head spacing being extremely important, the emitters on this tube are about every 12 inches apart. So the goal is that the tube itself is also 12 inches apart, so that the spacing and the water distribution throughout this bed is even. If you simply circle plants or have the spacing too far apart, these drip emitters aren't designed to translocate the water throughout the area. They're going to stay very localized. They're extremely efficient, and that's the point. But unless you take the time to install properly, and as you see here, it almost looks like a topographical map of this bed, the hose spacing is actually genuinely 12 inches apart all the way uniformly throughout the bed, which means anything that gets planted in this bed is going to get the exact same amount of water as anything else, and that's key. Okay guys, I just want to do a quick recap video of what we've done here at the Argenta Plaza. We have installed 1,200 feet of drip line in the beds, 8 new heads, 160 feet of 1-inch pipe, 18 nozzle changes, 2 new zones, a Bluetooth controller, and we've also found, identified, and repaired 2 zones that were existing but never hooked up when it was originally installed. All in all, we've basically had to completely overhaul this entire Plaza's irrigation system. And thanks to our irrigation team being diligent and problem solving, while this job did cost a significant amount of money due to the overhaul, we probably saved them about 50% of what they would have otherwise spent with another company that didn't do their due diligence, didn't fully diagnose the situation, and just simply said we need to install new electrical and new pipes and run underneath all this concrete, which could have cost thousands of dollars. Due to the ingenuity, thoughtfulness, and frankly just high skill set of our irrigation team, they were able to save a significant amount of money and time and simply just do this job the right way and get this place back up to the standards to which it should have been installed in the first place.